today is the 30th anniversary of Heartland Horseshoeing School. So anyway, I know a lot of you guys have been watching the podcast, and I got the next episode coming out with Bud and Hannah. So it's Bud Dorr and Hannah Kalbick, a couple of Heartlanders that are now a couple, and they shoe together in the Northeast. They were here for a couple weeks. Just thought I'd make an introduction and let you guys know. I thank you guys very much for listening. Bud and Hannah are great farriers. Bud's a journeyman, Hannah's chasing it. They're going to try to start a multi-farrier practice. Anyway, enjoy. We are cleared for takeoff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with a couple of Heartlanders, Bud and Hannah, and also Sasquatch and Hannah. I'll let you guess which is which. So, guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So, you guys come back every year, and you have for a while now, to help with the class. Tell us where you're from. We'll start with you, Hannah.
I'm from Alaska. I lived there for about 27 years before moving to Connecticut.
And you're only 21, so how is that? So 27 years in Alaska.
Yep.
Were you born there?
I was not born there. I was born in Washington State.
Okay. How did you become a farrier? Like, how did an Alaskan girl? And you were a secretary in the medical world, right?
I was, yep, for quite a few years. I worked for a couple chiropractors, and then I worked for a doctor's office for quite a few years. I always wanted to be a large animal vet, and it just, being in Alaska, it was just one of those things that seemed like it was far reach.
They have large animals. I've seen moose and grizzly.
They do have large animal. Not quite the large animal I'd be going for, but...
So now you have a Sasquatch. Sorry, bud. Yeah, go ahead.
So just vet school seemed like it would be far out of reach, and 8 years is a long time and a lot of money, and so I was trying to figure out what I could do. I wasn't quite happy in the medical field, in that corporate world, as they say, and I was like, what could I do? And so I was like, man, maybe I could be a farrier. And everybody was like, you're going to kill your back. And I was like, well, even if I get 20 years and then my back gives out, at least I'll have a career that I enjoyed and that type of thing. So then I started looking at schools and kind of went from there.
All right. How about you, Bud? How did you become a farrier?
I always had an interest in it when I was a kid. And
so you were watching horseshoers from your youth?
Yeah. And our farrier, I always asked him if I could go ride with him, and I was always too young. But he'd make me sweep the floor in the barn when he was shoeing horses. So
you got to hang out.
Yeah.
And you're from Connecticut?
Yep.
All right. And born and raised?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're still in the same house you grew up in, so you've been able to have a pretty stable life.
Yeah.
All right. And what did you do? Because you're about 28, 29 now?
I am 34.
Oh.
I turned 30 when we were here.
No kidding?
Yep.
All right. Well, you don't have no gray. How's that?
There's a couple starting.
Is there? All right. Well, you look younger. What did you do between the time you got out of high school and became a horseshoe school?
So I worked on a dairy farm from 14 to 24.
Oh, wow.
It was a high-end dairy farm owned by some rich people from New York City that owned a shoe company, and this was their hobby.
Okay.
And so they had show cows and would travel all over the country showing the cows.
Did you go with them for
that? We went to the World Dairy Expo in Wisconsin, and I was able to do that. The Big E, which is in...
And were you part of the team that prepped their good cows, or were you mainly milker?
Prepping the cows, cleaning everything. I held every role at that farm during my time there.
And are they still going?
And they have a creamery that's going, but they have to buy milk from other farms. They closed the farm.
Oh, yeah. Why?
One of the owners passed away. It was never a profitable farm.
Right. So they were doing it for fun, and when he was gone, it was, or when that person was gone. Okay.
Yep.
Is that whenever you decided to do something else?
Nope. I decided to do something else in, 2014 or 2015. I left there and got a job working for a tree company that removed trees on the power lines.
Okay, arborist.
Yep.
Okay. What's harder, being an arborist or being a farrier?
That's a tough question. I mean, this is much more enjoyable. I have a passion for this. That was just a job. It was
So
good
you
money.
didn't have a passion for it.
No,
Okay. All right. And what pays better?
being a farrier, hands
Okay.
down.
Hands down?
Yeah.
So how did you end up at Heartland?
There was a clinic at our local farrier supply shop, and I went to that and talked to some different farriers, and they all recommended Heartland. And I was just Googling all the different schools and whatnot, and everybody recommended this, so that was the route that I chose, and I'm glad that I did.
Well, us too. Did you, you didn't come visit, did you?
I did not.
Yeah,
I talked to you, and you had given me Marcus's phone number to call him, and I had already decided that I was going to come here anyways.
Okay.
So,
Nice. How did you pick Heartland?
I kind of just looked at a whole bunch of different schools and
Just online?
Just online. Yep. Yeah, I was just reading what they had to say, and something that you had put on your website in one of the bios or whatever just really stuck out to me. And then I was looking at other ones, and all those ones that I was reading, and at this point I don't even remember which ones. It was all over. I know, like Washington State, and I was trying to look closer to like Alaska area, not having to fly so far.
So the extra hour and a half on the airplane was important?
Well, it's just I started close, and then I expanded out
Okay,
with
so
my search.
By
But
close, how far is the closest horseshoeing school to Alaska?
probably Washington State.
All right, so 1,000 miles?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, by plane, 1,000 miles. Longer if you have to drive through Canada.
I would have thought geography wouldn't have mattered at all coming from Alaska.
And it was just the fact that whatever you would put on there was like, you will learn to work on all types of horses, good horses, bad horses. And everything else I was seeing was, we don't have any horses come into the school that don't stand. You know, you're here to learn how to shoe horses, not like work under them. And I'm like, but I know when I get out of school, I'm not going to be working on the high end, barns that have the well-standing horses. Everybody has to start at the bottom and work their way up to getting those good horses. And so that just really stuck with me, that it was like the horsemanship is a big part of the school of teaching you how to get around a bad horse. And now in our business, we can change those bad horses and make them good horses because we know how to safely get around them.
Or eliminate them and just do good horses.
Yeah.
Are you guys at the point where you're doing as much horses and as many horses as you want?
I think so.
yeah.
I think we're kind of at the point where we can be more selective on the horses that we take onto our books now.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, and so just so everybody knows, you guys met at Heartland and have become significant others.
We did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, but not married yet.
Nope.
Nope. When are you going to propose? Oh, that was good. That
When the
was good.
time comes, I guess.
So, have you had any health problems as a farrier?
I got injured almost 2 years ago by a big, what was he, a Percheron?
No, it was Belgian.
Belgian. I was working under him, and he was sedated, and he decided he didn't want me under him anymore. And I was on a front leg, and he just picked up that front leg and tossed it, and I ended up dislocating my ankle on the lateral side and tore all the ligaments and tendons. And I was out of work for about 6 months or so with that injury.
For us, having another partner that is also the shoer makes that, it's tough, but it's not, it's not,
You're not out of business.
right, it's not your business, it's not the end of your business.
Yeah.
Exactly. And are you 100% now?
I mean, as 100% as I'm going to be, it gets like, it hurts when it gets cold and stuff like that. But shoeing wise, it doesn't stop me from doing anything, getting under the horses and stuff like that. So I would say in that aspect, I'm 100%.
Okay. How about you? Have you had any health or injuries?
I've misused my knife on my hands a couple times.
Okay. All right. But stuff you could bandage and keep working.
Yeah.
All right. And how's your back holding up?
Pretty well.
And your knees, your hips, all that?
Yeah. My neck bothers me every now and then, but I go to the chiropractor once a month.
And that fixes it?
Yep.
All right. And do you do any kind of physical fitness stuff to keep going, or health stuff, or do you just work?
Well, we work, and occasionally we have to chase cows, so that's when I get my cardio in,
And how often do you have to chase cows?
when they get out. But not very often, thankfully.
And you do this on horseback?
Nah, actually, we move our cows quite a bit with the quads.
Okay.
We have a muddy section that isn't really conducive to be chasing the cows through with the horses.
Okay, all right.
But it's a lot easier with the four-wheelers.
Is it a pedal four-wheeler, or how are you getting your cardio? I'm just checking. What are you guys able to charge in the Northeast for shoeing a horse in 2025?
Our prices vary from we're $230 is our lowest up to $300 for a full set.
Very cool. And do you guys always work together?
We do.
Yep.
So you don't have separate rigs, separate businesses?
We have 2 rigs, but one's more for if we have a breakdown that we can.
A spare?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you don't, but you don't have your customers?
No.
Okay. And do you guys take helpers?
Every now and then we do.
Do you like having a helper?
Yeah, it's a change of pace.
So what are you looking for in a helper?
Well, like actual helper or somebody that we're.
If a youngster said, "Man, I just need to find a mentor," and they're willing to work hard, what are you looking for? Do they have to have a certain skill level or a certain certification level?
I think hardworking is
just
probably
hardworking and show up on time.
motivating.
Okay, so if they got the work ethic and the willingness, you'll deal with the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, and are you currently looking for a helper?
Not really, no.
No. Now you are a journeyman,
Yep.
and we got to watch that happen. Are you pursuing yours?
I am.
And how's that going?
Once we get a better forage area set up, it'll go a lot better. I've kind of put that on the back burner since last fall, trying to find a house to live in, and where we can actually get a forage that we can set up our coke forages and have a designated area that we can come back after work and forage.
It is so hard to shoe horses all day, come home, set up your rig, and make shoes.
It is when you have to take that 30 to 45 minutes or whatever it takes to set up the anvil and get that all prepped and ready.
Even if it's 5 minutes.
It is.
Even if you just roll your forge out and roll your anvil out, it's like, you know what?
I got to do that one more time
I'm
after we just did
tired.
it.
It's really easy to not do it because we got so many other things that.
When I was learning guitar, they said one of the most important things is don't store it in your case, because just the act of having to
Yeah.
is enough to keep you from doing it.
Yeah. So once we find a place and get that designated forge area set up, I'm going to really buckle down and start working on my bar shoe and building those pairs and getting that mindset of.
Get it accomplished. Huh?
Yeah.
So how do you like Connecticut compared to Alaska?
I like it. I like the fact that there's more of a 4 seasons, more of a summer, a warmer summer. There's a lot of things that I miss about Alaska, the scenery and the wilderness, and of course my friends and family and stuff like that. But there's a lot more opportunity for horses in the Connecticut area and a lot more broad. We've got the barrel racers and the dressage and trail riders and a lot of therapeutic cases, which I enjoy working on. It can be stressful, but when you have a horse that walks up to you and it's lame, and maybe it's not 100% when it walks off, but if it walks off more comfortable, there's definitely that feeling of,
Accomplishment.
You help that horse be that much more comfortable than he wasn't when he walked up.
What is your favorite type of lameness to work on?
We've been working on a lot of laminitis and founder.
Talk to me about founder then. So what do you guys do if you have a cute founder? How do you guys deal with that right in the beginning stages?
I guess we've been dealing with a lot of laminitis, and it's been a lot of metabolic, so we're having the vets pull blood work. We're having x-rays done, and a lot of horses we put into clogs right away.
Okay. And how do you do your clogs? Are you guys making them yourselves, or are you buying clogs?
We've been buying. We have some wooden ones that we buy, and we've been using some soft-ride clogs as well.
Okay. All right.
And recently we put some horses in the More Aid squish pads. The shoeing lab made those.
Yeah.
Those are easier to apply.
Right.
I
Yeah,
think.
a clog can be difficult.
We learned how to do the clogs, and they've helped a lot of horses. Learning to transition them from clogs was a whole learning process. And
So whenever you guys use your clogs, and let's say my horse is coming along pretty good on the blood work and the medical side of it,
How long is the clog setup usually on one of your horses?
We've been trying to wait until the x-rays show the new growth past the coffin bone.
Past coffin bone?
Or to the, not past the coffin bone, but at least like halfway down.
And it parallels to the dorsal wall of
Yeah.
the coffin bone. Okay. And so is that taken 3 months, 6 months?
It's been like 6 months.
Okay. And do you guys do any kind of supplementation?
Depends on what the vet recommends in that, but most of the time it's farrier's formula for hoof growth and stuff like that we like.
Whenever you transition them out of clog, what's your next step?
It's been reverse shoes with leather wedge pad.
Okay. And do you do any pour in under that?
So we'll use dental impression material under the clogs. And depending on the horse, if we feel that they need it or not, we'll continue to use the dental impression material.
Okay.
And sometimes we've had a couple that we'll notice a cycle that they're a little sensitive on the over the frog, and so we'll not put the dim in then.
Right. Yeah, they don't like the pressure.
Yeah.
And so have you guys taken some horses from foundered to sound and usable?
I guess the biggest improved one was a horse last year when Amy and Hugh came out. The owner walked it up to us when we were at a barn, and it could not walk, even on the grass. And we picked up her feet, and the soles were it was squishy. I've never felt
Did
feet
they
like
make a
that
noise?
before.
Did they make a noise?
No,
Yeah.
squeaking
Squeaking.
Yeah, so I've had one that was
Oh,
like
no.
a sucking
I guess
noise.
I didn't listen for that. I touched it, and it
You
made
could
me
hoof-
feel very uncomfortable.
You could hoof test it with your thumbs. Like it was just.
Yeah. And so you did the clog and the dim and then transition, and now it's sound?
She's in reverse shoes with leather wedge pads right now, and she's
rideable.
trail riding her again.
Wow, huh? That's very cool. Yeah, I had one time that had been abscessed so bad, and Dr. Marcotte called and said, listen, he's going to lose his foot, but I'm sending him to you anyway. And I said, what do you want me to do? He said, it doesn't matter. You know, he's going to lose his hoof. But I thought as a last resort, you might be able to do something. So I put a patent bar on there, but the foot had abscessed all through the sole and around most of the laminae. But whenever I squeezed it, it was, and then there was you could see stuff coming out of the back of the bulbs. You know, like when you squeeze it, you're like squeezing pus out of it. You know. So we put a patent bar on that, and she brought it back 6 weeks later, and things had tightened up. And I reset the patent bar once, and then I saw her like 4 months later, and I put a regular shoe on her.
Nice.
It was crazy. But some horses really want to live.
Yeah. This one, we didn't actually put in clogs the first time we saw her. We cast it on leather pads onto the bottom of her feet. Because she didn't like the rigidity of the clog.
So you tried a clog, and it was too
I
much.
screwed it on, and she did not. She didn't want to. She didn't seem uncomfortable, or she seemed still pretty uncomfortable.
Right
And
away.
I put a leather pad on the ground for her to stand on, and she seemed more comfortable. So that was the first thing we did to her. Was I doubled up the pads and we casted them onto her feet.
Okay.
That didn't hold terribly long, like 2 weeks, but then we put her in clogs after that.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. And so what kind of horses do you mainly shoe?
Mostly trail horses, barrel racers.
We've been doing a lot of thoroughbreds lately.
Yeah, quite a few off the track thoroughbreds.
And do you shoe these different disciplines differently?
Not really.
Like, not a super difference between them.
So a lot of times people will call the school and say, hey, I want to learn how to do, let's say, Arabs. And what I always tell people is it's the anatomy and the conformation and just the mechanics of shoeing a horse come first. And then you can apply that knowledge to other disciplines.
Yeah.
So if you can just do a good, solid trim and understand a good, solid perimeter fit, then you can adjust that if you want to do a long-footed horse or a draft horse or a trail horse. You find the same?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just fitting the right size shoe, not fitting under the foot, not cheating your quarters, center stock, you know.
The basics.
Yeah, we might have a horse that's a shoe puller. We might fit it more of like a hunter fit, a little tighter, but most of our horses
We keep to the basics and then adjust for the job after that.
Right. Okay. Do you guys buy pre-clip shoes?
We do.
You do?
We have both, but we do use a lot of pre-clip shoes.
All right, so I would recommend whenever you guys use your pre-clip shoes, do you still heat them up? All right, so get your cross peen and at least dent the area where the clips are pulled. And then people that look at the job,
Think that it was clipped?
they'll say, wow, these people can pull clips. Just a thought.
Okay. Take that one.
All right, so what would you have been if you hadn't become a farrier? If you had if you had seen a different track for your life, what would it be?
Well, I mean, my track was always a large animal veterinarian. So
You think you would have followed through?
yeah. And if I don't know, if I probably, because I've even thought about going back to school and becoming a vet, and then we would have a vet farrier practice. But again, 8 years of a school by the time I would get out of it and do all of that, I'm not quite sure the debt and the time is worth it at this point in our lives.
If you crunch the numbers, it's probably not.
No.
Yep, and definitely the time.
Yeah. And we have really great vets that we already work with, and we have really good relationships with quite a few of them. So we've got all of that resources that we need in that aspect. So we're not lacking in that. But it probably would be a large animal vet.
I don't know if you can tell, but I'm an old man, and I feel pretty good. How you feel, babe?
Really good. Beautiful day.
Well, we are out on the farm right now, just riding around, and this is where the cows that you might be eating came from, if you're ordering from CJW Pino Ranch. And right behind us, that timber right behind me, that timber, that's a hill right there, and it is covered with pigs in the summertime. So if you ordered a pig from CJW Pino Ranch, it's going to be raised right there behind me. So I hope you guys are eating well, and I hope you're watching after it so that you can enjoy your old age. And CJWPinoRanch.net will help you get there. Thank you all very much for watching. Be blessed.
How about you? What would you be if you hadn't been a farrier?
I was going the lineman route.
Lineman. All right. And was the arborist just kind of a natural stepping?
Yeah, well, there was a job that I could find at the time that was just something to change.
Okay.
And I did that for quite a while, but we were in a union that was also a lineman union.
Okay.
And I had experience working on the power lines I ran a 75-foot bucket truck.
And you don't mind being up there?
No. I was afraid of heights when I started, though. Not afraid of heights, but wasn't terribly comfortable with them.
Yeah. And how about now?
Doesn't bother me.
No problem.
No. I was, the company I worked for, if the weather was bad and you wanted to go home, you could go home, but you weren't getting paid. So I'm stubborn and I was poor. So I stayed and I worked through anything. So we were supposed to get down after like 25-mile-an-hour winds, but they weren't going to pay us. So I would stay up until they came and told us that we had to go home. I had a coworker that was equally as stubborn as me, so it worked out.
All right. And you survived.
Yeah.
The lineman thing, did you get to pursue it at all? Did you get any training?
I went and I took a test, and I had an interview, and it was all, my decisions were all like coming together at the same time. And I was like, well, if I go and become a farrier, that's going to give me freedom. I'm going to be my own boss, and I want to pursue that way. And if that doesn't work out, I can always go back to that route, because that route will always be there.
Right. So what do you think it is that makes a self-employed person?
Drive
Drive?
and passion.
Work ethic.
Having a work ethic for sure.
What do you think is the biggest reason that a young farrier fails?
Lack of communicating with their customers.
Not calling people back.
Okay, so not for the shoeing then. You think mainly it's business skills.
Yeah, business skills for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's one of probably the biggest things around our area is, even if we can't take a client on, or it's not like within our area that we travel, the fact that we answer them back and be like, hey, we're so sorry. We might give them a recommendation if we know somebody that travels to that area. But most of them are just like, I really appreciate you getting back to me. Because there's a lot of people that will just ghost them and just never answer back, whether they can take them on as a client or want to take them on as a client or not.
Yes.
And one thing that's done us very well is we're never late, hardly ever. It gives me anxiety to be late, so plan a little extra time for each horse. But we schedule our clients when we leave. So 6 weeks from then, they know when we're going to be there, what time we're going to be there.
And we send them a message.
I remind them the night before.
Okay. Yes, and so yeah, that's a big part of my business class is that you want to be able to bank on, that next appointment.
Yeah.
So you went with me yesterday to do some of my horses that were at like 10, 11 weeks. So it was definitely a practice what you preach. So just so you folks know, I've got one big customer left. I've been doing them for over 30 years now, and we're kind of just waiting to see which one of us dies first. So I couldn't get to him, but he didn't care, and so we got to him yesterday. What do you guys think the future of horseshoeing is? Do you think it's going to stay the way it is?
I would hope that it will stay the
hope,
way that it is.
hope and dreams, right? What do you think? Think it will?
I think for the most part it will. I think we'll see some changes, but
What kind of changes are you expecting?
there's going to be a lot of like 3D, like plastic type products coming out that people are going to use. I know we've gotten some emails from different companies that were asking us for our opinions on how to sell certain shoe products to our customers. And I was like, well, I don't really care for this company to sell products to our customers because we're the ones that want to make the decision of the products that we're using.
So kind of the position doctors are in with the pharmaceuticals, huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because if you watch a commercial on television, the pharmacy company or the pharmaceutical companies are trying to make regular people aware of different drugs. Then they go to the doctor and say, hey, I want Ozempic or whatever. And, yeah, well, I guess that is an interesting angle. So what do you tell them?
I didn't reply because my opinion was I'm not going to help you sell something to our customers. I'd rather in my eyes, we should be their customers, not
Your
our customers.
Right. How about you? What do you think the future of the industry is?
I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, I hope it stays the same, but again, with the economy and the world the way it is right now, I feel like a lot of that is up in the air. I mean, I know with the economy around us, people having as many horses or whatever, it's hard to board horses. It's expensive to board horses around us, and there's a lot of people that do board. So I just don't know if the board and the cost of the horses and the cost of hay and grain and all of that will change it a little bit, but
So what I found throughout my career is that we are a little bit economy proof because we are working for people that have resources. And so even whenever the economy takes a little bit of a slump, if you're shoeing the best horses in your area,
yeah.
a lot of times those people can survive that, and they're not gonna have to decide whether to get the horse shod or buy a Christmas gift.
Right.
And so it makes our job a little bit more secure if you have that clientele.
Yeah.
I've been hearing since I started that the industry is going to move to glue, and they've, I was told that by 2000 we would be gluing every shoe on and there wouldn't be any nails, and it didn't happen, and it's still not, in my opinion, going to happen. What do you think?
I think there's going to be a lot more people that are going to move to gluing on shoes, and we always get people being like, oh, does that hurt? Do those nails that you're driving hurt them? And I was like, well, if we do our jobs right, no, it doesn't hurt. But
We'll even get the customers that you'll be hot fitting and the horse is standing like a rock, and you'll be on the last foot, and then they'll ask you, does that hurt them? Like, well, they're not going to stand there if it does.
Yep. Do you think it'll come to more glue?
I think we'll see a little bit more glue than probably what's there now.
Yeah.
But
I think
don't
glue
it'll
has
be-
allowed people with less skill to shoe horses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, is
For
what I've seen.
Especially the glue shoes that have like cuffs on them and stuff. I don't think that you can have tried shaping those before. They're really hard to actually
Right.
change the shape. You can change the shape, but then you can't flatten the shoe out.
Right.
getting them
Because
flat
you
is
have
very hard.
this cuff.
They have a core inside of a rubber composite.
Yeah.
And even if you do change the shape, it gets a warp in it.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. They are impossible level.
But they're super easy to glue on.
Yes. Yeah, that is true.
They'll stay on forever.
Yes. Yeah, for months and months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've also
We-
had conversations about what is that glue, because it's, a chemical compound, what it does over time, just like I remember when I worked in the corporate world, I would get my nails done and I would either get the gel or, the acrylic. And after a while, my nails would just become so weak and brittle. What does that compound of that chemical reacting with the keratin of our nails, what will it do over time to the hoof wall?
Right. Well, that definitely is a consideration.
And I think we've pulled off some glue shoes that you'll go to take them off, and we use a knife to cut them off, and the glue will take part of the hoof wall with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You'll do like an 1/8 inch wall
Yeah.
that's been deteriorated, and then if aluminum was against the bottom of that foot, aluminum. I don't like aluminum long term because of the contact with the foot. That hoof tissue changes quite a bit. Yeah. So also glue is not very green. The amount of waste you have after you shoe a horse with it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It's
By the time we get done using the saran wrap and the tips for the containers and the glue that's in the container and
Rubber gloves.
Packaging.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely want to use rubber gloves.
Oh,
Anybody
yeah.
listening?
You will, your hands will be completely filthy they'll look completely filthy for weeks. Where do you guys see yourselves in 10 years?
as a multi-farrier practice.
Yeah, we would like to have some other farriers work with us.
Okay, what's that look like?
We want to hire Hugh when the time is right and have him come out. And I think it would be cool to have a few different skilled farriers that we can go, 2 people go one way, 2 people go another way.
That would be very cool.
Or, a big stop, we've got 4 people.
And she's got secretary skills out the wazoo. I mean, really, we would have hired you whenever it was time for you guys to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys might have something there. And so how many farriers do you want to have?
I think 4 eventually would be.
Just total with
Yeah.
us.
In 2 rigs or 3 rigs?
Probably 2 rigs. I don't know.
We definitely have a third. I like to have a backup plan.
A backup rig.
Yeah.
Okay. But you would have 2 rigs on the road. So you guys and then Hugh and whoever he has.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or yeah. However, we decide to split up for that day, or if we have a big barn,
And rotate it because it would be nice to get different eyes sometimes.
Okay. Have you guys put anything in place for that yet?
We've had discussions.
Conversations, but nothing solid.
Do you think you'll be able to get Hugh to leave New Mexico?
I think he likes soft feet.
There is that.
I went and helped him, 8 weeks ago, and the feet were pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. New Mexico you're really a stonemason
Yeah.
before you're a farrier.
That knife is not
It's useless.
very useful.
Sounds like you get really good with your nippers, though.
Yes. Yeah, you do get good with your nippers.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, what do you think of the students we got?
I think that you have a lot better class this year.
Okay, expand.
They are out in the forge at night. They're out in the forge in the morning. They're studying. They're eager to learn.
And what did you see last year?
Last year was a struggle. Last year was definitely, the motivation was not there. We would be out in the forge at night and everybody would be inside, and you'd go out and you'd be lucky if you saw somebody before 8:20 in the morning. It was just very...
So what do you think changed? Cause I don't know.
I think it's just the people you had last year. It was just that you didn't have the most driven class last year, and unfortunately you get a few of those people and they kind of drag everybody down.
So the overall personality of the class is what changed due to a few key individuals being either motivated or lazy.
I think so.
An anchor holds a boat down.
Yes. Yep. That's true.
You get people out in the forge, and we tried motivating them. We would try to have them do different things to make it fun and enjoyable, and even that was a struggle.
Last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yep. And you're not having to do any of that this year, huh?
Everybody's out there. There's a lot of people forging, and just walking around and helping as we can. And
Yeah, we might have a banner year. And I'm excited because it's our 30th.
yeah,
You know, it's potential to be such a incredible stamp on our 30th year.
I think you'll have a lot of graduates this year.
I think so. I think you're correct about that. Yeah. Got anything exciting coming ahead?
We have some projects that we want to do. We're trying to buy a place of our own, and we want to use our horses more this year because we didn't use them very much last year.
Well, you're a farrier now. It is very difficult to use your own horse.
It is.
I didn't say I wanted to shoot my own horses. I said I
not
wanted
shoot.
to use them.
There's something about it. You know, you love horses, and you love being around them all day. And now, when I got my mare in May, I did ride just about every day after I got her.
Yeah.
But just because I knew she couldn't have a break, you know, she didn't know anything yet. So I was doing that for my own safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have more horses than you had before?
We got a new Colt this spring.
Yeah, just gonna be a project, and we have a Brahma that we're gonna teach to ride.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. He's
Well,
about
that's
10
cool.
months old now, so we got a little bit of time, but we're trying to train him. And Cody was actually telling me that they have a cow novell that he taught one of his steers.
We had a bucking bull that we ruined. He no longer bucked after we taught
After
him to
Cody
ride
was
with a
done with
novell.
Yeah, so I'm going to look into that. I hope they still make them to get a novell because he said the function of it is a little bit differently on how it fits.
It is the same noseband with different headgear.
Oh, okay.
So the headgear just hangs on it different.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's how we're hoping to train him. I don't really want to put a nose
nose ring?
in if we don't have to. He's a pretty sensitive guy, so
The first time we put a halter on him, he laid on the ground for like 2 hours, just pouting. Then you go to lead him the first time, and he laid on the ground for an hour.
but he's doing really good on the leading now. So once he gets bigger, we're just waiting for him to grow, and then we're gonna start getting a saddle on him. And
We've been ponying him with the horses. And
So now you guys have been shooting for 4 years, is that right?
yeah,
Yeah.
just about.
Yep. And yeah, so you started 4 years ago right now.
Yep, 2021.
Yeah, so you're 3 years and 6 months.
Yeah.
And you're completely as busy as you want, two people in the same place. What do you recommend to a young person starting out? How do they get there?
it sucks in the beginning. It was hard.
You know, one problem we have is our graduation in September. And so people are getting out right as the season for shoeing is about over.
Yeah.
So the tough thing is that they have to go home to winter.
Yep.
But there's no way to avoid it, right? So it just is what it is. How long did it take to not suck?
I want to say it was a year.
Okay. And so at a year, were you making more than you were as an arborist?
It was a long time ago, but it was. I worked 2 to 3 days a week with other people, and then I had like 2 days a week to put our clients, and eventually.
I think by the year I got there, because it was a year after you got out, or we got out of school.
That's right. You did not go home to Connecticut with them. You went back to Alaska, right?
Yeah, I went back to Alaska for about 10 months before moving to Connecticut, packing up my horses and driving down the Alcan. And so I got there in July of 22. And I think it was probably 6 months after that where you...
I didn't stop completely working with everyone. I was working 1 day a week with someone until you got hurt. Like the week before you got hurt.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. And so did you get a business started in Alaska?
A small business, yeah. I had to work part time. I went back to my old chiropractic office and did billing for them part time, and then I did horses on the other days.
I know it would take quite a bit because there's so few horses.
There is, and there's a lot of travel time. I mean, we travel a lot too, but I was doing 1 or 2 horses here and 1 or 2 horses there.
90 minutes.
Yeah, they could be definitely an hour away or that type of thing. So, but I also knew that when we had decided that I was going to move to Connecticut, I didn't want to pick up a whole lot of horses because I didn't want to have all these people on my books and then be like, hey, sorry, after 6 months, I'm not going to be able to do your horses anymore. So once I kind of made that decision that I was going to be moving to Connecticut, I wasn't really focused on growing a business.
Sure.
I just decided I was making enough money doing the billing for the chiropractic office that I was working for at the time that, that was enough until I was able to move. So.
Well, do you guys have any words of wisdom to impart to the up-and-coming farriers beyond what we've talked about?
I think we covered it.
All right. And how about your inspirational saying?
Moment only matters because you make it matter.
That's a good one. Where'd you get that one?
Somebody we
Brian,
know.
it's that Brian Mullins podcast?
Yeah.
It's in the beginning.
You guys should listen to Boland's Farrier podcast. He does a great job. He is really a good podcaster.
He is.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Super nice guy. Yep. And what about your joke? Yeah, I don't think you guys have ever told me a joke since I've known you.
I'm so bad at jokes. I have to look them up and then I can't remember them because you put a camera in my face.
Mine are probably inappropriate usually.
All right. Well, I am so thankful. We feel so blessed that you guys are Heartlanders. And we thank you guys for coming out every year and being a part of these youngsters' career.
Yeah, definitely enjoy it.
It's fun.
Yeah,
It's interesting. And
Yeah.
it's motivating, isn't it?
it is.
You learn a lot too because we do all these things every day, but we never have to explain it.
Do you guys leave here saying, thank God I don't have Chris's job?
Last year for sure. But it's completely different than just shoeing horses.
It is completely different. Yeah.
This is much harder.
People don't realize that. I think even myself when I started, it's hard to remember that back that far, but I really thought that I would just kind of watch people shoe a little bit and make shoes all day and it'd be, the land of milk and honey. And then about the first week, a horse lifted me up and threw me on top of a shoeing box. I landed on my ribs. And I'm like, oh man, this kind of sucks.
Well, you have to be good at teaching people. You have to be good at reading the horses.
Really good at that.
You have to have the timing to stop the student before you can't get the job done.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, guys, thanks again.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate
Thank you.
Well, guys, it's just a little too pretty not to show you. So over there, they haven't had the pigs yet going up this hill, but this is where pigs were last year. And so they'll be moving this stuff over. Some of the pig shelters. That's a pig waller they made. But you can just see how much clearer this land is once the pigs have been through here. And I don't know how many acres of timber we got, but enough to just keep moving them around. And so they've been running pigs through these areas for a few years now, and it has really opened up the timber, made for some new growth, made quite a beautiful spot. You can see where it's all brushy over there. So your CJW Pino Ranch pigs will be running through that timber soon. There's just nothing like a timber raised pig that's actually been raised in the timber on non-GMO feed, eating hickory nuts and mushrooms and bulbs and all the sort of stuff a pig was meant to eat, which makes him taste like he's supposed to taste. CJWPinoRanch.net.